call the regular city council meeting Monday, March 23rd, 2015 to order. Clerk, call roll, please. Alderman Toth. Here. Ferrari. Here. Waldorf. Here. Lukosius. Perez. Here. Radke. Here. Mueller. Here. Sapienza. Mayor Howell. Here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with presentations. We have Peru BB Gun Club Year in Review. Mr. Greg Vaccaro.
Thank you. It's very exciting to come up here. This is our third year for the program. As many of you know, we mirrored ourselves after the Oglesby Club. Oglesby has been in existence for 62 years, and this is our third year. LaSalle's been in existence for about 5 years, and we've had a lot of interest with Princeton starting a club, which I think they will. They've visited our club probably 3 times, and Spring Valley's talked about it. I'd like to take a few minutes and introduce a few people, and then we'll go over some quick numbers for you. Next year, you're going to have 3 directors running the program. They helped me out this year, which was made my life a lot easier. Gary Olson, right here in front, was one of the directors that helped this year. Brian Hartman and Bob Zupaniak is in the back. Bob, raise your hand. Those 3 gentlemen will be taking over the program for Peru next year. We are also very fortunate is that we had 15 volunteers in the small program, which is unheard of. Besides the 15 volunteers, we had 8 high school students, and we had several police officers that went in and out of the program to work alongside of the kids. A couple of the parents that are volunteers, Jim Posey, back there, and Jeff Faber, whose son is also in the program. Thanks, guys, for that help. What I'd like to do is introduce our top 10 shooters for the year, then I'll go over some quick numbers. Our number 1 shooter overall, and shot 2 perfect targets, Melissa Darnick. Did she show up? Did she get in? Yeah, she should be coming. Our number 2 shooter, excuse me, I have a cold, and our top male shooter is Cade Pisha. Our number 3 shooter this year, Ryan Hartman. Ryan, raise your hand. Our number 4 shooter, Sam Scolari. Our number 5 shooter, Jacob Faber. Our number 6 shooter, Alex Posey. Our number 7 shooter, Jessica Waddle. Our number 7 shooter, Sterling Tungent. Our next shooter, Connor Brown's not here. And our 10th shooter, Kristen Risk. Those are our top 10 kids from this year. They did a great job. Okay, a couple of quick thank yous. Of course, Chief Burnaby and Michelle were very instrumental in keeping us organized. All the monies that were donated to the BB Gun Club went through the Peru Police Department. All the expenses were given to Michelle, and she went ahead and paid all the expenses. We also had a lot of help. Jeff King, Dave Bartley, and Steph helped us out quite a bit with some paperwork. We appreciate all of that. We start our program in November, and we run through February. So it's about 18 weeks of every Monday night working with 48 kids and several volunteers. Our kids' age are from 9 to 14 years old, boys and girls. The first year we started the program, we started with 54 kids. Throughout the year, we lost a few. Our second year was 44 kids. This year, we were at 48. So we're holding true somewhere in the 50 range. We shot this year 2,400 targets, 26,000 BBs. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is we actually had over 140 shooters throughout the year. We had 3 Rotary clubs, we had many sponsors, guests, parents, and we have one grandmother who's really enjoying this program. So it's been a lot of fun because we get the parents involved. At the end of each night, we try and get the parents and grandparents to get up and shoot also, and they really start to understand what we're doing. Over the 3 years, each year we've been self-sufficient. We bring in quite a few donations from the community, enough so that we pay for our expenses. We made some improvements in the room downstairs, painting, shelving, banners, cabinets, whatever we can do, and we have startup money for the following year, so we've been very fortunate. Also this year, we received over $1,100 in in-kind donations, besides the over $5,000 we got in donations for money. That's just phenomenal. We did recently shoot for our all-elusive city trophy. For 3 years, we've been trying to win that trophy, and this year we came very close. We shot 18 targets with a total of 1,716 points. We lost by 18 points. This is the closest we've been. Oglesby has a team of 5 sharpshooter girls, and they are tough, and they practice a lot. We're very excited. We'd like to thank everybody for the program that we have. This is a great opportunity for the kids to get to know the police officers, understand gun safety, doing well in school, and being well behaved in this competition setup. Again, it's my honor and very excited to have 3 new people that are going to take over the club for next year. I want to thank you for all your support and the help you've given us all 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, at this time, we'll call up the Friends for Peru Pool Bergner's fundraiser, Ms. Claudia McKishka, Deb Noonan, and Gina Martin.
As you know, we had the Bergner's fundraiser, and it culminated on Friday and Saturday, February 27th and 28th. And during the time, we sat there. Debbie and I were sitting there the final shift on Saturday, and we felt like we'd done pretty well, but a couple came in, and the lady noticed that we were Friends for Peru Pool. And she talked to us a little bit, and then she said, I want to make a donation. And it was a wonderful culmination ending for this fundraiser, because she got her checkbook out, and she wrote a check. We didn't have any idea how much she was writing it for, but after she gave us the check and she had moved on to do her shopping and we looked at it, her check from one donor was for $100. Wow. And that was an inspiration to us sitting there, and we hope she's an inspiration to some of the other people who would like to see a pool and our splash pad project back in this town. So we would like to present a check. This is from Judith Raculia. She had good memories of her days in the pool here in Peru. So $100 to go into the fund. And thank you for Judith Raculia, to Judith Raculia. Okay, give it to Dave.
Okay, we have a proclamation. The City of Peru, Illinois, proclamation by the mayor. Whereas safety is the highest priority for the highways and streets of our city and state, and whereas the great state of Illinois is proud to be a national leader in motorcycle safety, education, and awareness, and whereas motorcycles are a common and economical means of transportation that reduces fuel consumption and road wear and contributes in a significant way to the relief of traffic and parking congestion, and whereas it is especially meaningful that the citizens of our city and state be aware of motorcycles on the roadways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety, and whereas the members of ABATE of Illinois Incorporated, a brotherhood aimed towards education, continually promote motorcycle safety education and awareness in high school driver's education programs and to the general public in our city and state, presenting motorcycle awareness programs to over 100,000 participants in Illinois over the past 6 years. And whereas all motorcyclists should join ABATE of Illinois Incorporated in actively promoting the safe operation of motorcycles, as well as promoting motorcycle safety, education, awareness in respect of the citizens of our city and state. And whereas the motorcyclists of Illinois have contributed extensive volunteerism and money to national and community charitable organizations, and whereas during the month of May, all roadway users should unite in the safe sharing of roadways within the city of Peru and throughout the great state of Illinois. Therefore, I, Scott J. Howell, the mayor of the city of Peru, in the great state of Illinois, in recognition of 29 years of abate of Illinois Incorporated and over 638,000 registered motorcyclists statewide, and in recognition of the continued role Illinois serves as a leader in motorcycle safety, education, and awareness, do hereby proclaim the month of May this year, 2015, as Motorcycle Awareness Month. Do I have a motion to receive, place on file?
So moved. Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Putoff, to receive the proclamation and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations.
Loud pipes saves lives.
Okay, we have proclamation for the Illinois Valley Association of Realtors Fair Housing Proclamation. Whereas April 11, 2015 marks the 47th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which enunciated a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, family status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the City of Peru, as well as the Illinois Valley Association of Realtors, are committed to highlight the Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, by continuing to address discrimination in our community, to support programs that will educate the public about the rights to equal housing opportunities, and to plan partnership efforts with other organizations to help assure every American of their right to fair housing. Now therefore, I, Scott J. Howell, Mayor of the City of Peru, do hereby resolve that April 2015, being Fair Housing Month, began a year-long commemoration of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, and urge all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize this celebration throughout the year. Do we have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Mueller, second by Alderman Lukosius, to receive and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Junior Achievement Plan. I'll call Tom Jagula. You had a few words to say, Tom?
Briefly, Mr. Mayor, thank you to the city for taking a moment to recognize junior achievement. The ladies from the Quad Cities Office of Junior Achievement at the Heartland just asked me to make a few remarks. Junior achievement fosters the future success and economic health of young people in the communities in which they live by showing them how to generate wealth and manage it effectively, how to create jobs that make our community more robust, how to apply entrepreneurial thinking to the workplace. And what they don't mention here, a lot of people don't realize, Junior Achievement is a strong advocate for encouraging the trades among young people. So a lot of vocational programs are supported by Junior Achievement as well. Through the support of businesses and individuals, more than 3,300 students in the Illinois Valley area benefit from programs each school year. There are 7 Junior Achievement programs offered in Peru schools serving 118 students. 7 community volunteers from 5 area businesses teach the Junior Achievement curriculum and volunteer resources to support the programs. It also includes competitions against neighboring schools I've participated in myself, where kids learn entrepreneurial strategies through things like what you would see in Shark Tank. They do a Titan competition. So it's a tremendous benefit to the students. Declaring April 2nd as Junior Achievement Day serves as a celebration of the work of our community, a celebration of the work our community does to empower our young people to own their economic success. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, for recognizing Junior Achievement.
Okay. Well, just to finish that, now therefore I, Scott Howell, Mayor of Peru, do hereby proclaim official recognition of April 2nd, 2015 as Junior Achievement Day in the City of Peru. Do we have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved. Second, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Putoff. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comment cards for Steve Roberski, landfill monitoring? Mr. Roberski?
On your agenda tonight,
you'll award a contract for landfill monitoring for about $20,000 annually. I want to provide some insight and some history into the landfill monitoring that the council might find interesting. This is a timeline of facts and figures that spans 18 years, and I'm going to try to condense it into 3 minutes. Landfill monitoring began in May of 1997. The work was given to Test without bidding. There was no formal contract either. Test billed the city approximately $44,000 a year for the next 15 years. Between 1997 and 2012, the city paid Test a total of approximately $675,000 for the landfill sampling and analysis work. About 3.5 years ago, I encouraged the council to allow competitive bidding for this work. And through the efforts of Alderman Sherry Mazak, through what was then the Public Property Committee, the work was finally bid after 15 years. In 2012, 4 bids were received, with the low bidder coming in at 38.5% less than the highest bidder being Test at $44,000 a year. So if you do the math and consider 38.5% of $675,000 over 15 years, you see a total of $256,500 of savings to the taxpayers never realized because Peru's elected officials had always decided not to allow the work to be bid. Recently, there's even more better news for taxpayers with the contract you will award tonight. The current winning bid came in at 38% lower than the previous low bid of just 3 years ago, for an additional savings of $10,300 a year. There were only 2 bidders vying for the current contract. The 2 bidders are PDC Labs of Peoria and Test. It's interesting to see that Test's current bid was 44% lower than their $44,000 bid of 3 years ago. That's $19,360 less than they bid just 3 years ago. If you think about those numbers for a while, you can draw your own conclusions as to what Test's profit margin was between 1997 and 2012, before they were required to compete. Finally, I just want to set the record straight that the current policy of selective bidding practices by this council is not in the best interest of Peru taxpayers, in my opinion. Does anyone have a question for me? Thank you.
What kind of qualities the people from Peoria do? What kind of reputation do they have and qualifications? Where can you find this at? Where can we find it at as a citizen of Peru?
As far as their
Qualifications, their reputation.
probably a state regulating agency. The IEPA could probably help you with that.
And what is this company's name?
PDC Laboratories?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, do we have a motion to receive the minutes and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. I have a motion by Alderman Pope, second by Alderman Waldorf to receive the minutes and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Do we have a motion to receive the reports and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor. I have a motion by Alderman Pope, second by Alderman Ferrari to receive the reports and place on file. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. I just wanted to point out the year-end report is in for our sales tax for the year 2014. If you look at the sales tax report, which really revolves around the strength of our retail base, you see that the city collected about $5,700,000. Last year was about $5.4 million. So you've seen a 5.4 increase in retail sales tax. In addition, you've seen about a 5% increase in the parkside infrastructure and also the infrastructure tax, which is again about a 5% increase. The $1.9 million gives the city additional dollars to work on our infrastructure. If you look at it, because of the strength of the retail tax base, the city collected nearly $10 million, or over $10 million, that really states that the economy is growing a little bit in Peru, and that the state of our retail base keeps increasing. It also gives us a guideline as far as that $10 million, that takes away the burden of our, what we would call is our annual taxes that we receive, or our real estate tax base. So that certainly helps the city of Peru, and it's good to see. For a few years, we had a downturn in the economy, and it's nice to see it's rebounding a little bit by about 5%.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to committee. Finance, Safety Services, Alderman, Chairman Putoff.
Disbursements, Alderman Radke, please.
Yes, Your Honor. I have disbursements for March 25th, 2015. Total disbursements are $1,805,783.56. I move that we receive this report, place it on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Radke, second by Alderman Perez, to receive the disbursements, place on file, and pay the bills in the usual manner. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk, call the roll. Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza. Motion approved.
Your Honor, we have the Peru Police Department monthly report for February 2015. I'll make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second that, Your Honor.
A motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Perez, to receive Peru Police Department report, place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, I have the Peru Fire Department report. I have, let's see, as of February 2015, with a total of 25 department responses, which includes 3 trainings. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and then place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
A motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Ferrari, to receive Peru Fire Department report, place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Did you want me to do it? I have the Peru Ambulance report for February 2015. PVAS responded to 248 patient calls for February. Total mileage logged was 11,878. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second.
Been a motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Radke, to receive the report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, a couple other thoughts from the Finance and Safety Services. A meeting was held preliminary to tonight's meeting, a finance meeting, and really the work has begun of the council as far as the budget process. It has begun. We're looking at a balanced budget, and you're looking at approximately $8 million in infrastructure improvements involved in the budget. Budget looks like to be about a $60 million budget. So we continue that process. We're pretty well into it, and we'll be looking for approval on that probably within a few weeks. The other thing that we're working on as council is collective bargaining agreements have come up. The first one is the electrical union, and we've begun preliminary negotiations with that. So that's all I have in that committee, Your Honor.
I just would like to note that the budget is on the website for viewing as required by publication, so anybody that wants to review the budget, it's available.
Okay, we'll go to Public Services. Chairman, Alderman Waldorf.
Yes, sir. The electrical reports, Alderman Lukosius, please.
Yes, the electric financial report for February 2015. And during this period, we showed revenues over expenditures in the amount of $1,569,755. I would like to add that the reason this figure is so high is that it did include the sale of the Peru Rail, which was grouped under the electric department for $1.25 million. So that's the reason that the figure is that high. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Lukosius, second by Alderman Waldorf, receive electric finance report, place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, I have the electric operations report for the month of February. During this period, total kilowatt hours sold amounted to charges of $1,698,147.08. And purchase power avoided due to our hydro generation was $97,738.57. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman LaCossa, second by Alderman Waldorf, receive electric department report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I have the City of Peru Revenue and Expense Report as of February 28th, 2015. This report shows revenues over expenditures in the amount of $56,515.07. I'd like to make a motion we receive this report and place it on file.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman LaCossa, to receive the water finance report, place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I would like to make a motion to accept the Public Services monthly report as of February 2015. Accept it and place it on file, please.
Second.
Who said second? Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman LaCossa, to receive public service report, placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Your Honor, next I have the City of Peru Water and Wastewater Treatment Plants report as of February 2015. Total water produced was almost 74,900,000 gallons. On the wastewater treatment side, at the east plant, we treated 72.8 million gallons. On the west plant, we treated 32.9 million gallons. I'd like to make a motion to accept this report and place it on file, please.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman LaCossa, to receive water and wastewater report and place on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Your Honor, I have the Peru Recreation Fund cash account summary for the period ending February 28th, 2015. Total funds available are $42,481.08, and that's roughly a 9% increase over this time last year. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second that. Have a motion by Alderman Mueller, second by Alderman Sapienza, to receive Peru Recreation report, placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Your Honor, I have the Peru Public Library cash account summary for the period ending February 28, 2015. Had a total disbursement of $44,996.20. I'd like to make a motion to place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Mueller, to receive Peru Library report, placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to award the landfill monitoring contract to the low bidder, PDC Laboratories Incorporated, in the amount of $16,668 annually for a period of 2 years.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Waldorf, to award the landfill monitoring contract to PDC Laboratories in the amount of $16,668 annually. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to award the EPA supplemental permit testing to PDC Laboratories Incorporated in the amount of $3,840 annually.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Waldorf, to award the EPA supplemental testing to PDC Laboratories in the amount of $3,840. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to seek bids for the 2015 General Fund Street Program.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Sapienza, to seek bids for the 2015 General Fund Street Program. Is there any discussion?
Do we have a list of what we're doing, or do you?
Yeah, this week, I want to go over a final list with each of you now that I'm back today. And then once that list is complete, we have all the areas. I've driven every street in the city of Peru. We've rated every street, addressed what we need to do this year for the program, go through with each of you. And then once everybody is in agreement with what the plan is for this program, I'll publish that in the paper for bids.
I think the process has been a good process with the city engineer reviewing to the streets as opposed to previous years where each city council member had a review of the streets. I think that's been a positive play for the city. I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the thing, is he's got a more qualified eye than any of us.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapien.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to seek bids for the 2015 MFT program.
Second, Your Honor.
The MFT program this year, I believe, is going to be Wenzel Road from North Peoria all the way to the east boundary.
It is actually Wenzel Road from 251 to the eastern city limits. That's correct. We're looking at our main thoroughfares with the MFT work. We'd like to keep MFT in one location. IDOT, as you know, is doing all the milling and overlaying of 251 this year. Last year we completed Shooting Park Road, so we're well on our way to completing all the main roadways within the city. And I think Route 6 was done about 5 years ago. So.
Is there any further discussion? We have a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapien.
Motion approved.
Next, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to seek bids for the farmhouse demolition at the Peru Municipal Electric Site.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Lukosius and Alderman Waldorf to seek bids for the farmhouse demolition at the municipal electrical site. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
One last thing, Your Honor. Eric, can you prepare to go out for bid specs for the demolition of the Econo Lodge? This asbestos abatement and demolition, this probably isn't the best time to go to bid, but you know, maybe they could do it over the winter
Yeah,
next.
the bidding for demolition, we're not too concerned with that timeline as much as we are with roadway projects. You know, like to get those out early in the spring, or major projects or sewer separations, get those out early. The demo projects, I'm not overly concerned with the timeline if we get it out in the summer. So the first step will be getting the environmental report done on the building. We'll review that report, then I'll put a packet together for the demo. So I'll get that in the works.
Very good, thank you. That's all we have, Your Honor.
Okay, reports to the attorney, ordinances, resolutions. Yes, Your Honor, the first matter, there was a hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals. That would be the vacant lot at the end of Herbert Street, extended at the end of that cul-de-sac. And there was previously a variance on this property. This would abut the south side of the school stormwater detention pond there. And the previous variance was to Anglovars to reduce that rear yard setback from 50 feet. On the plat, it's actually 45 feet, but in R1, it'd be 50 feet down to 35 feet. And the petitioners here, Joseph and Bergoni and his wife, desire further reduction of that setback, such that it would be a 25-foot rear yard setback. Plan Commission members, Bieterstedt, Brining, Miller, Atkinson, and Gans were present at the hearing. Member Wujak and Mullen were absent. Mr. Bergoni testified and introduced evidence of site plan with the proposed residence located on the property, saying the property is on a cul-de-sac and affords little width for the front of the residence. He's requesting that rear yard setback so he could set back his residence further to the north. He has stated that lots on both sides of the property are presently vacant, so aesthetically there are no established setbacks of existing residences along either side. Member Miller questioned whether obtaining a 3 feet setback in a side yard would allow him to move the
residence closer to the street, and it would, but then that would require two variances in this otherwise new subdivision. Member Atkinson stated there would never be anything developed behind the property because it's part of the Peru Public School property and retention area. Building Inspector King spoke of the previous variance given to David Anglovar. Member Barry Brining noted there's a floodplain located behind that actually constitutes a part of this lot, and he cautioned the petitioner not to build any improvements within the floodplain area, otherwise he'd be required to obtain flood insurance for any mortgage financing. Mr. Bergoni stated in his discussions with Chandler Associates, the drainage work done took care of the flooding, but that does not give an automatic amendment to the floodplain map, such as to avoid the necessity of national flood insurance. Mr. Bergoni stated they have attempted to reposition their residence on 3 separate occasions, but any other repositioning would require 2 variances. He was advised that any variance would not preempt any private covenants and restrictions to the subdivision, and depending upon what those private covenants and restrictions in the subdivision state, you may need to get waivers from the other owners of lots within that subdivision. A letter was received from Member Mullen, who was not at the hearing, but he stated that he objects to the variance request because this is in a new subdivision and new residences should be built within the established setbacks. There were no objectors present at the hearing. Atkinson moved, Brining second, the petition be favorably recommended. It passed unanimously of those present, but Member Mullen had an objection by email, and 2 members were absent.
Do I have a motion to receive the minutes placed on file?
So moved. Second, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Putoff to receive the minutes placed on file. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
You have an appropriate ordinance reducing that rear yard setback to 25 feet.
I have a motion to approve the ordinance as written and read.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Lukosius to approve the ordinance as written and read. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I just want to point out it makes a lot of sense in this area. If you know where it's at, it's abating where we have the flood area from Parkside School. So there's no residents or neighbors that are affected by the variance, and really it should work out real well.
Is there any other discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke. Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
Next ordinance, which is all I have, it gives a lot more expanded definition of nuisances to cover a lot of things that aren't otherwise covered in the existing definition of nuisance under the ordinance. Maybe the most important thing at the end of the ordinance, we state that if any provision is declared to be invalid or unenforceable, it won't affect the remaining provisions of the ordinance, which would remain in full force and effect. Anytime you deal with nuisances, the issues before the court are whether or not it affords an offender sufficient notice to know what is being violated. And they call that ordinance can be struck, or portions of an ordinance, if we put this, if it's what's called unconstitutionally vague. So when you're dealing with criminal offenses, you have to have some reasonable notice of what that criminal offense is. So, you know, admittedly, maybe some things in the ordinance would be declared unconstitutionally vague, maybe not, but at least you're broad enough to cover all these different areas. And these, in the first instance, would be brought up in an administrative type hearing rather than before the courts. But it wants to broadly address anything that any person would consider to be nuisance. We otherwise have obnoxious weed ordinances. We have building control ordinances, but this even addresses such things as hedges or any obstructions in yards that create an obstruction to cross traffic at the intersections. Frankly, I think the one over in LaSalle off 11th Street when you're going northbound on that is terrible. It's very difficult to turn back onto Shooting Park Road to the left on that LaSalle property. But this just expands.
Okay. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the ordinance as written and read.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to approve the ordinance as written and read. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved.
The next is a resolution that would authorize the execution of a contingent fee legal contract with Power Rogers and Smith and Schweigert and Gannison concerning polluters of the environment. And this was sent, since our firm is involved, to Herb Klein. Did he get back with you, Mayor? Herb? It was sent to Herb to review on behalf of the city. But what it is, Power Rogers and Smith is a pretty preeminent law firm in Chicago. In fact, the attorney that would be working on this is the same attorney that represented the city of Dixon in the case against the auditors on the Crudwell embezzlement. But the idea on it is to see if there are responsible parties out there that have created environmental damage within the city, that there could be potential recovery on behalf of the city. It provides for a standard 1/3 contingent fee contract, and if there are costs in advance for depositions or whatever, plus those. But if there's no recovery made, there wouldn't be any cost to the city. This would be somewhat similar to the one that the council did with the Clifford Law offices concerning that large nationwide suit against Expedia and some of the others on the collection of hotel motel taxes on their commission portion. So don't budget any of these funds to see the two properties that would be looked at, and it's only going to work if responsible parties have any financial capability to, pay fines, to otherwise abate a nuisance. Personally, but I think this is purely a guess, but if I had to guess, I would suspect that the property at 820 Bruner Street, New Haven heater property, would probably be very problematic. G&O Manufacturing, Godan. I remember walking through there in a site tour maybe 25, 30 years ago, and it had issues then. And why I suspect it may have issues now, they haven't paid real estate taxes on that property. The real estate taxes are about $60,000 in arrears. The owners of record of that property, so it's just been abandoned and sitting there. Transpro Inc., New Haven heater, and there was in a land trust in that before there. So, frankly, we're going to try to make some determination if predecessors or existing parties in title have any economic strength at all, because, as my dad used to say, you can't get blood out of a turnip. And we have a lot of time in this now, just tracing the past evolution of title. Another one may be the J&L former property. Another one may be even the Prue Marathon on 4th Street. But those are the only three that I can think of off the top of my head. It is not meant to go after any existing businesses or anything like that. It's those that have been in title at one time and, you know, have created a mess for everybody else to clean up. And these suits became as a result of a decision before the Circuit Court that went up to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals to use city ordinances, and we'll just see what happens on it.
Well, it's I know it's a Hail Mary, but the city has really nothing to lose. And some of those properties have been in just ridiculous condition for a lot of years. So I think it's worthwhile to at least pass the resolution, so I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Alderman Paul, second by Alderman Radke to pass the resolution as written and read. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved. Okay. I'm asking for a motion and a second to appoint Justin Miller as our city budget officer by state statute.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Sapienza, second by Alderman Putoff for the appointment of Justin Miller as city budget officer. Is there any discussion?
Just to make that clear so the public understands that there'll be no additional pay for that position. So.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, it actually takes the pay away from Mr. Hyla and moves it to Justin Miller.
Well, in the books, not on the check. Sorry about that, Justin. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll have a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller. Sapienza.
Motion approved.
The next is a resolution to authorize expenditures of MFT funds.
I'll make a motion, we accept the resolution as written and read.
Second, Your Honor.
A motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to approve the resolution as written and read. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk call roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved. The next is a resolution urging the Governor and General Assembly to protect full funding of local government distributive fund revenues. As everyone probably knows, the Governor's first shot at the budget is to reduce our local government distributive fund by 50%, which in our case is around $510,000. It's a pretty big hill to climb right from the start. Everyone knows that something needs to happen. But to go to the municipal government and asking them to fund their budget problem, you're not doing anything to your budget. You're transferring debt, basically, is the way I look at it. And he's being told, the governor's being told loud and clear by cities all across the state of Illinois that come to us with something different. Don't come to us with 50% off right from the start. I know some of his very, very vocal supporters are very, very vocal against this. And I'm asking you to approve this resolution just to let our General Assembly know that, you know, go to the drawing board. Let's look at it a little bit more. And once again, we understand there's a problem, but don't just go to our backs and, you know, telling us to go ahead and spend reserves that you have built up. To me, that's not a solution, to go to the municipalities that have reserves that you built up.
And I find it real unfortunate that the governor's looking at this as opposed to looking at their direct budget for the state of Illinois. The first example he's made is cut the cities by 50%, when I think there's a lot to be done as far as internally within the state. I mean, for our example, real estate taxes, 74% of it goes towards our pensions for fire and police. So certainly the one aspect we don't want to touch is we don't want to increase the real estate taxes. And it's important for public improvements because that's really the role that we carry out. So I find it kind of problematic, and it is a backward thing as far as raising the economy too.
One item I find disturbing, I was at some meetings with the mayor from Southern Illinois, and the governor was in Southern Illinois 2 weeks ago, and one of the mayors told the governor that I don't see any way out of this if you take away our distributed funds other than to file bankruptcy, and the governor said, that's not a problem, we'll show you how to do it. I don't really think that's the best way to look at it or the best way moving forward. I know there's a bill on the floor right now to make it easier for municipal governments to file bankruptcy, and I find that a tough pill to swallow myself, to advocate for the communities to file bankruptcy. So we'll see where it all goes, but I think it's very important that you pass a resolution that we urge our General Assembly not to vote for it in its present form. So we have a motion to receive the resolution placed on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Waller, to receive the resolution and place on file. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Motion approved. Any further ordinances, resolutions? None. Unfinished business.
I just have one thing. I don't know if you were going to mention it, Doug, but Doug Schweigert passed out. We do now own the hotel.
Yes, sir. Yes, Judge Holland had issued a judicial deed to the city for us old timers call it Howard Johnson's, because that's the way it was originally built, and some of you recall, and then it had the Shakey's in there, and then the most recent has been the Econo Lodge, but the city now owns that property. It sits on 7.308 acres of land. When Assistant Building Inspector Frank Taylor, when they had the people doing the environmental assessment at the King's Inn, took them over there. We do not suspect that there's much asbestos in that. It's constructed of precast reinforced concrete that when it was originally built was really just brought in big slabs of concrete and placed by cranes. But, you know, it is it's just a blight, and it's been a blight. The building inspector, Jeff King, is also working with the owner of the adjoining property to the west to try to get that barn taken down. If you're westbound on Interstate 80, past there, you know, that Econo Lodge property looks terrible, but so does the barn next to it. And the Director of Economic Development is also working with at least, well, 2 prospects to hopefully take that property, and the city would probably be amenable if we got somebody to go in there and they agreed to undertake the cost of demolition. I'm sure a favorable deal could be worked out for all sides, but it is a very blighting influence on the city. Something needs to get done. I think that's the first time, I'll just say, that property's ever been acquired under that provision of the demolition statute. My son, frankly, did all the work. I didn't. But even speaking, one of his classmates is in the demolition division of Chicago in-house attorneys, and they filed 2 suits under that, but they never went so far as obtaining the deed. And the nice thing about obtaining the deed under that particular statute, and the other provisions above that don't so provide, but under that section, it wipes out all the prior taxes. So that's why the city had bid in at a tax scavenger sale a couple of years ago and bought those back taxes for just short of $26,000. But that judicial order by the judge wiped out those back taxes, and that's why you have the check here tonight. So we got back those taxes, and then the next year, the following year, they were purchased by tax lien investments. So as soon as they submit their certificate of sale, they will likewise be refunded on those taxes. Taxes will be wiped out, and that's what we need to get a clean Chicago title insurance policy on it. I've ordered that, so it's going. You know, the judicial deed and recording, it's one thing. Ensuring title is the more important thing. And I have ordered a commitment working with the title company on obtaining a clear title, and then if there is a purchaser down the road, all they have to do is take off from that existing title policy, and it'd be very quick and easy. So I'm glad to get that done.
City approved.
Yeah, I think we started.
That's our gateway, and we need to get that cleaned up and looking more approachable, more inviting.
I think it was about 3 years ago we started down the path of trying to start acquiring those properties, and it takes a long time, but.
Yeah, you know, in going back to the King's Inn, that did go on for a decade. And the reason for that is, and I always came back to the council, and I know a lot of these things are discussed, but they should be discussed out and everybody get their take on it. And then I kept asking the council, do you want the property? Do you really want that property? Because at that time, the asbestos abatement alone was $400,000. And it was our hope that when business loan centers foreclosed upon that property, I mean, business loan centers are a very, very large lending institution, so that's great. You know, just let it go through the foreclosure and everything, and you know, once they go into title, you know, we can start all our cases and fines. Well, it took them a few years to figure it out, but then they abandoned their foreclosure. But the good thing at that time is most of that asbestos abatement was done. I mean, there was a lot done, but it bankrupted people, you know, the contractor, and then of course the owner of record of the property, he went off to India. So there was never a responsible party, and that's what the city all that time was hoping, that a responsible party would have gone into possession of that property so we could force the issue. But, you know, when you're looking at the expense, it was still expensive to raise the property, but it would have been even a lot more before a couple $100,000 in asbestos abatement was done before that. But hopefully, the asbestos abatement at the Econo Lodge will not be a big number, and it's probably going to take something like the pulverizing machine to crush that into COA6, like is being done on the Jewel store now, where they salvage the rebar and then pulverize the rest of it. But you just have to see what those bids come in at, or maybe in the meantime, Bob Vickery can get somebody to take it as is with the agreement that they'll raise it and develop it, because it is a nice site.
Hey Doug, so Carmike, they're not coming in to build a new theater at this point, right?
No, and well, as long as we're on that, let's discuss that. Well, let's wait to public comment. Then if anybody in the public wants to discuss it, let's go to that point.
Okay.
Any other unfinished business? New business? Any new business? Petitions, communications?
Yes, Your Honor, communication from the Recreation Board requesting permission to have a horse in Washington Park on June 3rd from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the summer program signups, in an effort to help promote the new Saddle Up horse riding camp.
I have a motion to receive, place on file, and grant permission.
So moved, Your Honor.
I I have a motion by Alderman Mueller, second by Alderman Sapienza, to receive the communication, place on file, and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Next communications from Ashley Lamps of the Compassionate Friends Support Group requesting permission to hold a walk at Baker Lake on September 27th at 10 a.m. and to reserve the east shelter.
You have a motion to receive communication, place on file, and grant permission.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Mueller, to receive the communication, place on file, and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
We have a communication from Phyllis Atwell of the Sunset Horseshoe League requesting permission to hold their Horseshoe League at Centennial Park on Thursday, starting June 4th through August 27th.
Make a motion, permission be granted.
Second.
I have a motion to receive the communication, place on file, and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Communication from the Starved Rock Runners requesting permission to hold the annual Kids Running Clinic at Baker Lake on Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m. starting June 15th through August 10th.
Do we have a motion to receive, place on file?
So moved.
Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Mueller, to receive, place on file, and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Final communication is from the Alzheimer's Association requesting permission to hold the annual Walk to End Alzheimer's event on Thursday, September 10th from 2 to 7 and reserve both shelters, and that'll be at Baker Lake.
Motion, permission be granted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive communication, place on file, and grant permission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Is there any further communications?
No, Your Honor.
Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Mr. Oberski?
A few weeks ago, I sent an email message to, regarding a situation that I recently became aware of. Sent an email message to Mayor Harrell, to Alderman Waldorf, and Alderman Lukosius. And I guess for the benefit of anyone else, I'll just read the email that I sent. Gentlemen, as you are aware, I recently requested records via Freedom of Information Act pertaining to the total cost to repair a city-owned transformer located at the James Hardy facility in Peru. I spoke with several City of Peru employees regarding the scope of work involved with the removal, repair, and eventual reinstallation of the transformer, which began last summer. I was informed the damage to the city-owned transformer was due to faulty or improperly sized switchgear or circuit breakers located at and owned by James Hardy. After reviewing recent minutes from the Public Services Committee, I noted brief discussions that indicated Peru's elected officials were aware that James Hardy was responsible for the damage to this transformer. The total cost of the repair project, according to the records I was provided, is approximately $131,000. I'm writing to ask for an explanation of why taxpayers of Peru should have paid for damage to publicly owned equipment when it was known to have been caused by a private company. Let me explain why I find this situation so disturbing. In the spring of 2013, when we had 6 inches of rain overnight in Peru, my finished basement flooded with 16 inches of sewage, which came up through my floor drains. Never in 22 years that I've owned that house have I ever been flooded. I did not ask the city for help. I did not blame the city. I pumped it out and cleaned it up. I did, however, fill out the questionnaire and paperwork which the city had suggested for homeowners who had a problem in the storm. That was in the summer of 2013, and I've never heard a word back from anyone with the city about investigating how and why it happened in my neighborhood. When I see Peru officials bailing out what is probably a billion-dollar corporation to the tune of $131,000, and I was never offered so much as a phone call from an alderman or anybody else with the city regarding my property, I feel entitled to ask for an explanation about James Hardy being so fortunate. Please respond individually to my inquiry, as I'm interested in receiving your personal perspectives in this matter. So that's why I'm here right now. And the question still stands for anyone willing to try to answer it for me. What was the justification for the city paying more than $131,000 for repairs to a city-owned transformer that was damaged by faulty equipment by a private company?
Is that your public comment, Mr. Roberski?
And my public question, yes.
Well, public comment, we're holding this public comment only, so is that your public comment?
You won't answer my question?
It's public comment period, it's not question and answer.
But how does a citizen ask a question?
Go to the committee, you were invited to go to the public service committee.
Mr. Roberski, you were invited to come to the Public Services Committee meeting to have your questions answered.
What's the difference?
You said your work would not permit you to do it, so we invited you to an evening meeting to answer your questions. We didn't want to answer them individually since it was a decision made by a committee. We wanted the committee to be there to answer your question.
That's fine, Jim. I'm giving you an opportunity right now to
Come to
explain
the
the
committee
situation
meeting.
to me and to the public.
We can talk as long as you want. Come to the committee meeting. And as far as sewage in your basement, and you said nobody reached out from the city had hired an engineer from Chamlin's, Mike Perry, who's sitting right there, and Mike Perry was in your basement. So why do you say nobody reached out to you?
Mike, were you in my basement?
I didn't go physically in the basement. I went out and met with Steve.
But you did meet with them.
Mike was in my neighborhood and we spoke for a few minutes. He was not there to meet me. You were meeting with my neighbor. Yeah. We talked a little bit, but we didn't get anything resolved. That's really not the point, Jim. I'm asking a question. The situation, I'd just like to know what's going on.
It's always been city policy with transformers, to give you the simple answer. And we weren't 100% sure that it was their fault. It sure looked like their fault. The engineers said it was probably their fault.
The report back from
the report
ABB looks like it was their fault.
Exactly, and they made necessary corrections in their switchgear so that it never happened again.
So you're giving
James Hardy is 38% of the load for the city of Peru.
Right.
Good customer. They provide you a better rate because of the power that they consume.
Not the point, Jim.
Okay, once again, this is public comment. It's not going to be public debate. I'm not going to have questions and answers here. You can come to the Public Service Committee meeting.
There's going to be answers at the Public Services Committee?
It'll be discussed in more further detail.
That's very different than
in more further detail.
In front of the public, to answer a question. Alderman Waldorf, would you like to offer something?
That is a public meeting.
I think we've answered it, and
That's a public meeting with records kept, and that's where we go to the public.
I've looked at the meeting minutes, I think, from probably every Public Service Committee meeting. I haven't seen any discussion of this issue.
Nobody brought it up?
But something's going on.
Okay.
There are decisions being made.
Okay, is this your public comment? I'll say once again.
It is.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah, I'll say something. I was at Public Services meeting and I submitted a question, and I was told I could not ask a question at Public Services.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
Well, first I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak here tonight. I'd like to say some of you do a good job.
Okay, your name, sir?
John McLeod, resident of Peru.
Okay.
As I was going to say, some of you do a good job, some of you not so well. As a member of the local media, I pay attention to things that seem wrong. I have two items that need to be brought to the attention of the council on behalf of the citizens of Peru and myself. This is a very critical time for some of you. It has become apparent that there are some shady things that have been going on in this government. Let me bring up what has been called the super vote. We are very familiar with the abuse of the super vote that has been going on. When you do not allow a project or whatever to go into a bidding process, and you pass it without giving any competitor who may be cheaper or possibly better a shot to bid, you create a perceived thought or idea that something shady is happening under the table. It restricts free enterprise, and handing over a $3 million contract without a bidding process is fiscally irresponsible and wrong for the taxpayers of Peru. Using this method to get your way just opens the door for all kinds of corruption accusations. Can any of you up for election afford this? All of you who vote yes to a super vote are coming across to the public as corrupt Chicago-style politicians. Secondly, we have seen enough of this above-the-law attitude that has been going around by elected officials in this room. It's time the people of Peru take a stand as I am tonight. It appears that we have a couple snakes in the room. I left out the slippery slope part just because that was just too good. Two of you helped create and voted for a city ordinance limiting the size, placement of campaign signs a couple years ago, but you think and act like you are above the law. To address Mr. Pothoff, in a sense, he thumbs his nose at the ordinance that he voted for helped create by placing numerous 4x8 signs in town, which are 32 square feet, twice the allowed size of 16 square feet. In my opinion, he either placed these signs late, knowing he would be given notice to remove them within 30 days, which conveniently falls after the election, or, in my opinion, maybe he has amnesia and can't remember the ordinance he may have voted on, and it was passed by the council. This is a very obvious case of choosing to be above the law. Mr. Waldorf seems to be able to read a tape measure and calculate square footage pretty well. However, there are places where he and Pothoff have more than one sign on a property. The ordinance limit is 1. Did anybody miss kindergarten here? It's pretty easy math. In conclusion, we the citizens have had enough. It's time to clean up house in the city of Peru. We're watching you. If we have city officials who, by super vote, appear shady, if we have city officials who completely ignore laws and ordinances that they help create, it makes the people, myself, question your integrity as a leader. It is a sign of things to expect from you in the future and demonstrates that some of you, and possibly the rest of you, I think we know who the some of you was, lack integrity, responsibility, and trust that it takes to lead the Peru city into the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment at this time? Any other public comment?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to address a matter that Alderman Perez just brought up. I'd like to give you the history on the theater, but more importantly on Peru Mall. When the theater came in, or was looking to build a new building, Economic Development Director Bob Vickery had a meeting with Greg Kveton. Greg Kveton is the owner of GK Development. GK Development is the owner of Peru Mall. And the mayor and I spoke to Mr. Kveton on several occasions because the main objective that the city wanted is to have the theater in Peru, hopefully in Peru Mall. The lease on the theater is up. I get differing dates, either October 31 or December 31 of this year. And typically in a mall, they look to renew leases anywhere from 12 to 18 months before the end of the term. Greg had told the mayor and I that the mall had attempted to do that on numerous occasions, beginning, well, now it would be beginning well, probably almost 2 years ago, with no response whatsoever to try to get an extension on that lease. So we've been in continual contact. You know, he'd ask me what's going on, and we'd ask him what's going on, because the theaters are very important to Peru Mall and to the city. But he had reached a foregone conclusion of 3-4 months ago that, you know, they're going to build a new theater somewhere. And given that conclusion, the city wanted it built in Peru. I received and this has been going on quite a bit. It's been a very fluid situation with respect to the theater. The amusement tax came out, and a surcharge was the last thing. Store Capital, which is a New York Stock Exchange company, which was going to be the REIT to buy it. So this has been going back and forth quite a bit for the last few months. Mr. Kveton called me today on 2 issues, and he thinks there's another lease with the theater at Peru Mall. There's no doubt that the theater is going to be in Peru, but I suspect that it's going to be an extension of the existing lease at Peru Mall rather than a new facility at this time. And the Peru Mall, incidentally, has also offered to build a new facility that would be the luxury 10-screen on an outlot at Peru Mall. So, but the way it appears right now is that there'll be some lease extension of the existing facilities, but it's not signed, so. It's also very fluid between the two of them. I do not think that, and it certainly is not going to happen this year, given the time period you need for steel and precast concrete. New theater, if it is going to be built, is not going to be built this year for sure. The other issue, and that's what I wanted the council and really anyone to discuss, is that the Peru Mall finds it very disconcerting that they get objections to property tax assessments. Every year, the main issue involves the assessment for year 2011, which is now before the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. But just today, the 2014 assessment was contested by LP High School. And the difference in the assessment and what the mall wanted it assessed at and what the high school says it should be assessed at amounts to a difference in taxes to the school of $4,524 a year. City's portion of the tax bill would be $562. It's costing more, according to Mr. Kveton, to fight these issues for attorneys and appraisers than anybody could ever hope to recover. And would like, in an amicable basis, to sit down with those decision makers and get this matter resolved. Both that's before the Property Tax Appeal Board. That one for 2011, I understand, would be in the $40,000 range, the difference in what their appraisers state. But still, $40,000, and especially for the last couple of years, when you're talking about $5,000, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And what I personally find interesting is that the CHS development, nobody filled the room supporting that, but the assessment on the CHS development is over 1.5 times what all of Peru Mall is. Over 1.5 times what all of Peru Mall is, and that's why something like that is so important, and especially the location of where CHS is, because that is LP High School, that is Peru Public Schools, and you know, but that just goes by the wayside. But we need, I think, to sit down and have monies better spent. Peru Mall, now this is the filing at the state of Illinois, filed by the chamber, has 750 employees, which makes Peru Mall the largest employer within the city. IVCH is the second largest, according to that filing, with 601 employees. Maybe a little different now, that was 2 years ago, but the point is, it's the largest employer within the city. And walk the halls. Go down, walk every hall, and look, you know. Malls aren't what they used to be, and that's a statement throughout the whole country. The dynamics of malls have substantially changed over the last 6 years. Now, this is from Greg. I spoke to him for an hour today. He called. And, you know, it's the Amazon, it's the Internet, it's a lot of things, but it's changed, and I think we need to do what we can to help out, you know, their situation. And I have found in 38 years of practice, the times that I've appeared before the LaSalle County Board of Review, I've found them to be very competent, very capable, and more importantly even is understanding. So when you had motels that were in distress and somebody bought them, you know, they would lower the property tax assessment and say, hey, you know, get the place fixed up, let's see where you are, and, you know, we'll increase the assessment after you get your business going. And I think that's a good attitude to have from the Board of Review. I haven't been there in a few years, but that's where they were. But the other thing, of course, is that, you know, Peru Mall and even the Hy-Vee and all that is in the Dimick, Peru, is in the Dimick School District, not Peru Public Schools. So the city does everything that really helps indirectly Dimick very substantially. But yet Dimick filed suit against the city, and the city, the Dimick and the county spend, what, $120,000 in legal fees so far?
Well over that from the last FOIA I did.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It seems that the taxing bodies need to sit down, get together, and help out those that need helping on assessment, and make things fair and encouraging to business. I mean, you have 51 separate businesses, I think, in Peru Mall. I mean, you probably could have 80, but I mean, that's where a lot of focus should be addressed. I'm saying, we get something that increases the tax valuation 1.5 times, you don't hear from anybody, but then we're trying to put it to the Peru Mall.
And
when you know, I've looked at some of the appraisals. I just looked at the objections today, and it just doesn't make economic sense to me to be spending the money on fighting those issues.
Well, in simple terms, the taxpayers get two hits. The citizens of Peru pay for the infrastructure, we pay for the support that the businesses have, and then you turn around and you pay for the legal fees, which are in sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, to increase the taxes of that entity that you helped put up. So it's incredibly a backward way of doing things, and certainly City of Peru has been held captive. You've seen in the headlines with the Dimock School District, and it's a crying shame of all the dollars that we spend in for economic development, and then you turn around and a lawsuit's filed on that business or in the City of Peru to recoup dollars that really aren't there.
You know, Mr. Kveton told me today, when they get a tenant that's looking at the Peru Mall, and as you know, the way malls work and the way any business like that works, it's a complete pass-through. It's what's called a triple net. So you pay a base rent, but you also pay taxes, insurance, and maintenance. So every dollar that's spent on attorney's fees or appraiser fees for Peru Mall flows right through, and then the tenants pay. And when a tenant comes in, they don't care what the rent is. They don't care what the CAM charges or common area maintenance charges, and they don't care what the other costs that flow through the tenant are, insurance, maintenance, and the rest. They care what's it costing me, what's my occupancy cost total, all in. So to the extent that common area maintenance or CAM charges go up, to the extent that other charges go up, it increases that occupancy expense. But they want to know right where they're at when they come in. So you could have, $10 rent, and if you have $5 CAM charges, they want to know the totals, $15, whatever it is. And that's the important thing, and that's what affects business. And it goes all the way through, not only 750 employees, but, sales tax and everything else. And the other thing that we're working on is the Northern White Sands. Those should be presented with the railway. I mean, someone asked on there, well, what does the city get out of it? I think that's a fair statement. I mean, that is, in fact, a business along there. He says, well, I don't think the city otherwise has the $2.5–3 million to bring that road up to grade that it needs, because there's presently numerous 80,000-pound trucks that serve the businesses along there daily. So that's what the city's looking to get out of it. It will increase, obviously, the assessed valuation of the city, again, 1.5 times what the mall does itself, but the other big beneficiaries, if that development goes through, is Hall High School and grade schools in Bureau County. It would come within the City of Peru tax base, but it wouldn't be like CHS where it's LP and Peru schools. But it's good for the area, but that's what's being worked on, and I don't know, just some thoughts.
Anybody else still under public comment?
Now that we have become less an agricultural state regarding our cities are expanding and we're going into the agricultural aspects of it. It used to be they had the schools approximately every 2 miles or so, so the kids who were to be educated would only have that distance to go to. Well, that's no longer valuable because of the simple reason we have the motor vehicles, etc. Why does Dimock come all the way down to Shooting Park Road? Why can't we do something about that? Because Dimock, and I've seen a couple of maps, and I don't know if they're still the same, but Dimock comes all the way to the north side.
Well, May Road, and then west of Illinois Route 251. But you're right. The Peru Mall and Hy-Vee is all in Dimock. That's why, And, annexations do not change, school maps.
But they should.
I agree with you, frankly. It's a, petition for, disconnection, and those have generally been very unsuccessful. The last one, in fact, the only one that I can recall that was, tried and it failed was over in the Linwood, area, several years ago, but it was never, disconnected. It goes to, I think, the Regional Board of School Trustees, but you're not going to get those taxing districts changed, I don't think. That's right.
That's all I got to say.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, closed session, we covered the items in our finance meeting, so do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
I have a motion by Alderman Farley, second by Alderman Radke. All in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, meeting adjourned.